Hello, welcome back to another episode of Come Back Stronger. I'm Dana Brooks of the Fasig Brooks Law Offices, and I'm joined today with my law partner, Kimmy Hogan.
Hey, y'all.
She's filling in for our fearless leader, Jimmy Fasig, who's trying a case out of town. So thank you for making the time to be with us.
My pleasure.
We have the most exciting guest. And what's funny is just recently I saw her interviewed by Anderson Cooper on CNN.
Cool.
So you're going to see her all over the place. This woman is quite a trailblazer. You know, we're all about women empowerment, but boy, she really, she redefines it.
Yeah.
We're talking about Captain Niloofar Rahmani. She is the first female pilot in the Afghan Air Force. This is her book, Open Skies. And so she's got a lot to say, and she's got quite a story. So it's going to be two shows, a multi-part interview. But have you had a chance to check it out or check out her book yet and hear her incredible story?
So I haven't read the book yet, but I've watched the interviews, and it's just amazing. I mean, talk about going for your dream in the face of adversity.
Yeah.
You know, her entire culture was against her, basically.
Yeah.
And then to have to go for it in the face of threats from the Taliban, to have to go into hiding.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's incredible. It makes all of our problems seem pretty small.
They really do seem small, because this is somebody who was born into an environment of just utter chaos, because the Soviets were in Afghanistan first, and there was a certain culture that included women to a certain degree then, and then it went backwards in time, kind of like Dark Ages type stuff. And so she and her family fled that and lived in Pakistan for a while, and then when they returned after the Allied invasion, I guess, following the 9/11 attacks, they were able to get back into a culture that was a little bit more welcoming of the women. So boy, she took that and just went with it, didn't she?
Oh, amazing. From looking at parts of the book, I understand that it was 2009 that women were first allowed to be in the Afghanistan military, and then by 2013, just 4 years later, she's the first woman to get her wings and be able to fly as part of that.
Yeah, but it was not an easy course, and it's not easy now. So this is an incredible story, and we'll bring it to you right back after the break.
I recently had a new client, and she suffered a mild traumatic brain injury.
Okay.
And she had no idea what had happened that caused her to be injured.
Gotcha.
But it turns out she had fallen into a pit at an oil change station. And it was 100% their fault.
Oh, wow.
But her injury made her not even understand
her injury, and
how
it makes me so frustrated, because folks that suffer concussions or mild traumatic brain injuries, it's really difficult for them to know what happened and to understand the difference in what their life was and what it is now because of the nature of their condition. And so the insurance companies need to recognize the full value of that.
Yeah, instead of taking advantage of that very unique situation.
It took her family telling her, you need to call an attorney. Her family coming with her to the appointment to say, these are the differences, to get her in there, and now we're able to help her.
I love that. We are back, and we are ready for the first segment of Carrie Rome's four-part interview with Captain Niloofar Rahmani, the first female pilot in the Afghan Air Force. Take a look.
Captain Rahmani, thank you so much for being here with us today. You have an incredible story, and I have been really, really looking forward to this moment where I get to meet you and interview you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
The background of your story is that you are the first female pilot in the Afghan Air Force, and you're currently in the United States as a victim of the Taliban or in Afghanistan, and you're seeking asylum here in the United States, right?
Correct.
So tell me a little bit, let's start with your story as a young child, as a young female child, as a little girl in Afghanistan. What was that like?
Absolutely not a great memories. As a child, I would never wish it for any little girls in any part of the world, because every child, you know, that's their right to have a right to live like a human and to have feeling and, you know, be like a kid, like a normal kid. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case for me. I was born exactly during the civil war in the country. when there was a war inside the country, and my mother couldn't even make it to the hospital, and I was born at home. So unfortunately, by the time I was born, just the house and the apartments next to our building just got bombed.
Oh my
And
God.
it was a very, very difficult time for my parents and myself. And unfortunately, in Afghanistan, if a parents give a birth to a girl, it's a shame for the parents. So the parents get shamed by other extended family that they give a birth to a girl.
Oh my gosh.
And growing up and being a female and being treated that way, unfortunately, in Afghanistan, they treat an animal better than a woman. And that's just one part of this story. And unfortunately, Taliban is another part that everything they do, everything that bring to a country or that law, it's against a woman. All they do is just break a woman. And the first thing they do, they shut down the schools for the girls, for women. They don't let them be educated. And everything they have is against women. And I do not think that's it shows that they are strong, because
Right.
you don't attack a smaller and weaker than yourself just because you think to prove that you're smart. No, that's absolutely
Right. So what is their reasoning? What is their rationale for not letting girls go to school, or for shaming parents who have a female child? And females bring life into this world. So I can't even imagine why you would be shamed for being a girl or for having a girl. Because if it if it wasn't for women, life wouldn't be created, right?
true.
So, I mean, what is the rationale behind that? And that's still going on, isn't it? It's not like that's 30 or 40 years ago. I mean, that's present day.
Absolutely. And that's what never ever made sense to me or either my family, because I grew up and we are four girls, and I have, another three sisters, and we got treated better than just one brother. And we weren't always the queens in my father's house, and we always had his support. So I never ever understood why they do that. And what really makes me upset is that they put everything that religion says it. There is nothing like that in any part of the religion that tells you that woman is limited to this and this and this. But it's unfortunately their mentality, their idea that they create, and they think, if I just, like fool the uneducated people, and because everybody's gonna have my back, especially all the men's. So it's never anything that I ever would understand why your law is always against women. And I honestly, myself, I never could find out the answer for that part of their, I guess.
Philosophy or mentality or political ideals, whatever, because it's not in the Quran. I mean, it's not a fundamental part of Islam that women are less equal to men.
Absolutely not. Because if we even look at the religion, our prophets, they had their wives, their daughters, they were nurses in the battlefield. And it's just so unfortunate that they make a religion to look bad. In religion, they tell you to be a good person, do not hurt anybody. Everybody has an equal right, but that's not what they do. They just force everything on you.
So as a little girl, you and your sisters were not allowed to go to school. And this is what, like early 90s, mid 90s when you were growing up there?
Yes, because I was born in 1991. And unfortunately, I was 6 months old when entire my family due to civil war. And just my father with like like with girls and his wife and the big family, he just wanted to keep everybody alive, because the country was a not safe place for anybody. Not only my family, thousand and thousand Afghan, they all became immigrant to either Iran, to Pakistan. That's the easy, way they could get in. But my family was one of them. Unfortunately, for a long time as a child, we lived under a refugee camp, which sometimes, I don't remember that much, but, like as I writing the book and thinking about it, and, my parents will tell me the stories, it just doesn't feel real. I feel like it's like a nightmare to even think about it. And that's why I would never wish this to any child in the world. And to just wish to have a roof on your head, and just wish to have running water or electric. That's all we could wish for. And that's one part of this story. And just not be able to be in school and be educated. But I was so blessed to have parents that they always been on our side and supported us and taught us how to read and write. And they're my heroes.
That's awesome. When did you have the dream to become a pilot? Because I know that that's been a long-standing, childhood dream. How did that form? I mean, were you in the refugee camp and you saw a plane, or did you know a pilot? How did that come about?
That's actually so many reasons behind it. It's so different. Like most of the people, like I have so much friends that I ask them, like, what made you to just dream of, just that's what you want to do. This is your dream. And they just have one answer. They fall in love with airplane and they wanted to do it. But I guess for me, it has been so many different reasons behind it. As a child, I grew up and I was like only, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old under so much violence. And I saw how bad women get treated, how families and my parents got ashamed just because they brought a woman to this world. And looking all those, all those threats against women, and they treat a woman less than animals. They force women to do everything. They don't see a woman in a society. They think woman has to be just do housework and give a birth. That's all they see a woman to do. And this is something not me or my family is ever been agreed to. And also, we all know how the Taliban treated a woman. They took education, everything from a woman. So all these combined together, it just sparked something in my mind and my heart. And I was like, nope, I have to do something. I knew it's going to be risky. We don't have a civilian aviation school in Afghanistan. The only way you can be a pilot is just joining the military. And you have to, somebody has to start it. Even, not everybody in Afghanistan are lucky to have the support of their own family. Yeah. I'm very lucky to have the support of my parents, that they stood by me and they never said no to my dreams and what I want to do for my life.
That's amazing. When we get back from the break, I want to talk to you about what it took to be a pilot and what your life was like in the military and what your life is like now.
For sure.
Wow, that's quite an upbringing.
I know. It's amazing to me that she was blessed with 2 parents that supported her.
Yeah.
Her and her 3 sisters, they said, I know our culture doesn't support women. We shame people for having women. We're having all of you. We're going to teach you to read and write. Yeah. We're going to help you go after your dreams. Yeah,
and she said the women were the queens in her father's home, which I love. And that's telling, even in our progressive culture, a lot of people still, say, oh, they had a girl, but oh, I wish they'd have a boy. You still hear things like, how important it is to have a boy. But gosh, in that culture, for them to eschew all that, all the cultural, the religious, I mean, that was a pretty bold move for her parents to take, to just say, no, our girls are going to reach their full potential and we're going to see to it. So I'm just astonished by that. But they also, I mean, it was a safety thing. You think about it, it's like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Whenever you're taking care of basic things like food, shelter, clothing, you don't think about, maybe I want to, exceed all expectations and go into some lofty career. I mean, these people are just trying to not get shot and
Absolutely.
Not get bombed.
Her story, she came home from the hospital and the building next door had just been bombed, the week before?
That's too much. And she was born in 91. This isn't something that happened. We're talking about London bombings, in World War. No, we're talking about since, we've been alive, this is people who live like this, and then they still come out to achieve such great accomplishments. So I can't wait to see the second half of Carrie Roan's interview with Captain Rahmani right after this.
You know what's funny? When law firms advertise that they'll give a free consultation, every consultation we give is free, unless we can get you a settlement based on your injuries. Right. Every time you give me a call, it's free. Yeah. I want you to give me a call. Yeah. We're not going to charge you unless we actually get you something for your case. That's right.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to pay me anything unless I win the case. Right. And on top of that, I'm going to pay for all of the court costs and the deposition costs and medical records costs and expert opinions costs. All of that's coming out of my pocket, and if we don't win the case, then we eat those costs at no charge to you.
Right. So we don't take a case we don't believe in because it's not in our interest.
Right.
And we don't minimize or devalue your case because that's also not in our interest. Right. So it makes everything fair.
If you have a lawyer on a contingency fee, you can hire the very best lawyer.
And we are back for the second segment of Carrie Roan's interview with Captain Rahmani, and we're going to get into a little bit more about her journey and what she had to go through to attain her education and get the shot that she finally took. Take a look.
Okay, so Captain Rahmani, we're back from the break, and I want to ask you a question about flight school. How did you go from being a kid who was growing up in like the tent cities of the refugee camps to being educated enough to get into flight school? And then were there other women in flight school? I mean, what was that whole experience like?
As a child, honestly, like I'd never been to an airplane. I never flew in an airplane as a passenger even. You know, as a little girl being an immigrant and live under the tent, I would never even feel like what the airplane looks like or feels like to be in it. So, you know, like playing in the tents and, you know, in the, I guess, dirt outside the tents and looking up in the sky and looking at the birds, how free they are. And they're just free. They can go as high as they can. And I feel like I always enjoyed looking at them. Like, I wish I was one of them to, you know, just fly away from everything, from all this violence. And the other side is my father. He actually wanted to be a pilot, and when the Soviet was in the country, but unfortunately, back then the situation wasn't like any other country. If you're smart enough and you're intelligent, you can dream for whatever you want. If you want to go to Mars, yes, you can do it. You can go to Mars. Right. But that wasn't the case in Afghanistan till nowadays. So because he didn't have a connection, he grew up in a, you know, like a very poor family, and he just had to have opportunity to be allowed to go to the Air Force and do what he wanted to do. But unfortunately, he never got that opportunity. He never even could prove it. And as a little girl growing up, I would always hear that from my father, that how painful it is for him to not be able to, you know, what did he dream for? And he always tell me this story. He's like, it always broke my heart. And unfortunately, in Afghanistan, if you have a son, they always view that if you have a son, your son can make all your dreams come true. But if you have a girl, they don't even count on them. And I guess the other reason, you know, I always wanted to, I guess, you know, be a son for my father, which being honest, I would never want to be, you know, a man for sure. But I mean, it's just like giving him the feeling of, I can be your son, you know, I can make everything happen for you.
Yeah, I mean, your dad showed you so much love by always treating you as an equal and as a human being and teaching you to read and write when nobody else would. You're treating him, you know, you're showing him that same amount of love back by being the person that can fulfill his dreams, which I think is so cool.
This is definitely a long story, but you know, we came back to Afghanistan during the even the Taliban was in the country, because Pakistan was no place for us to live there anymore, because that was our homeland. No matter what, my parents were really wishing and hoping to get back to their country, even if they can send their only one son to school. We came back, and as I mentioned, I am so always thankful for the presence of the U.S., United States, in Afghanistan, because since 2001, the U.S. invaded Afghanistan. It has been a big, you know, opportunities for women. They brought so much lights in a woman's life in Afghanistan. And as soon as they came in, they reopened the schools for women. They wanted a woman to be part of the society. They wanted a woman to be part of each military brand. And they wanted them to be in Congress. They wanted them to be educated, to go to college. And I was blessed enough to be, you know, to given this opportunity. And I went to school, and all these times that I was a child and growing up, when my mother taught us how to read and write, so we were basically on the level of passing those grades by just taking a general exam and
awesome.
Able to, you know, just go on a grade that our age was qualifying us. And just finishing the schools and stuff, you know, like as the U.S. wanted the woman to be part of the military. One day I heard in the news that they are hiring women in the military. If they want to go Army, Air Force, they want to be a pilot. And till nowadays, like, I can't express that feeling, like how happy and joyful that moment was for me, because I always thought about it. I was like, how am I supposed to do this? Because we don't have a civilian school, and the only way you could be a pilot is through the military. And by support of my family, again, I was able to go and just not see the risk and just go and pursue my dreams. And I applied for, I just enlisted to the Air Force, and you know, just finishing my officer training and going through the academy. And then I had to go through so much qualification before I even get selected to be a pilot and go to pilot training. And of course, that was another part of big, you know, barrier on my end, because none of them wanted me to be there. They would just look at me like, you don't have a parents, you don't have a brother to support you that you're here. And I would just look at them, even the generals. If you're so ashamed of the uniform that you're wearing, why do you have to tell me that it's something shameful, that if I wear a uniform, it's bad? But
so even the generals in the Afghan Air Force, even after all this, were still telling you that you were shaming their uniform. And I think I read somewhere too where the doctors were saying that you weren't medically qualified to be a pilot just because you're a woman.
Absolutely. And I knew I was absolutely healthy. And because that's a big part of your pilot training. Before even you start a pilot training, you have to be physically fit, medically. And of course, he was the chief of the doctors. And the only way he could disqualify me and just make me quit is just to tell me I am disqualified and I have a heart problem and I cannot be a pilot. And there has been.
But you never quit, right? I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you never quit. You never let them get you down.
Absolutely not. And I proved them wrong. And at the end, I was a healthy person.
That's awesome.
But there has been like so much barriers, like with the uniform. I didn't even have a place to change. I didn't have a bathroom to go to. I was afraid to even go to the bathrooms because there was no bathroom for women in the Air Force. And it was so much difficulties, and especially, you know, you're not doing something wrong. Until nowadays, I don't think I have done something wrong. All I had to go through just to, you know, sacrifices, struggles that I had to go through is just because I wanted to serve my country. I don't see that's fair. Because that's how they made me feel. All I wanted to do is serve my country, do something for the women and girls in the country. But again, because it's so men-dominated country, they just break a woman as soon as they raise their voice and wanted to do something.
Well, and no, you have not done anything wrong by being a woman, by being born a woman, by being a pilot for your country, and by being in the military for your country. You've never done anything wrong. So when we come back from the break, I want to talk a little bit about your experience after you became successful as a pilot in the Afghan military, the Afghan Air Force, and what the Taliban did to you and your family after that led you to come to the States.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's good stuff. I don't know where they found the fortitude. I don't know where. I mean, when there's that little encouragement, you don't even have a bathroom.
You're so resilient. I
Yeah.
mean, she could have quit so many different times and just kept moving forward.
Yeah. I know. I can't wait to come back after the break and wrap up this first show with Captain Rahmani.
I went to lunch with one of my former clients the other day, and she's doing great. She took the money from her settlement and she started her own company buying and selling vehicles, which is really cool because she was in a car crash and then needed a new vehicle. And so now she's able to help other folks out.
Most of our clients, they find that one of the most frustrating things is the dealing with the vehicle.
Oh, well, losing your car can totally disrupt your life.
You can lose your livelihood over it. If you can't get to work, or you know, what's the worst thing with our clients is we're just trying to help them get well. But if they can't get to the health care that they need, you know, that's just another setback.
One of the typical things about a comeback story is you take the pain and the struggles and the challenges that you've been through, and you use that as the fire that kind of motivates you to do something good for other people.
Yeah.
And so I love that, because now our client did exactly that, like literally to the T.
And we are back. What an exciting interview. And you can see now why we couldn't just get this in one show.
Oh, absolutely.
There's so much to say. For someone who's only been alive 30 years, boy, she's crammed a lot into those 30 years. I mean, I just, every time I hear something about, you know, how corrupt it is over there, you know, we like to, you know, whine about thinking, you know, we've got corruption in our country. But I mean, the kind of corruption she's talking about is people telling you you have a heart problem that you do not have, just to keep women, you know, just to keep them out of you know, an ability to contribute and make decisions. And she's quite a decisive leader. I mean, she didn't just get into flight school, and she wasn't just the first woman pilot. She performed exceptionally. I mean, she took the first solo flight in her class, you know, and that's against all these males. So I don't understand really what makes somebody keep getting up and pushing through that sort of adversity, because it does feel beyond institutionalized. It's you know, their culture, it's in everybody, and I don't know what she would have done without the support of her family.
Oh, I know. It sounds like her father really was a central part of her story, and that it was part of his dream and he couldn't achieve it. And so she felt like, I want to make him proud. I want to help him achieve his dream. I also want to be like the birds. Yeah. Right? I love that. Yeah. And then I also want to do what I can to help change my society. Yeah. That's a bit.
I mean, she didn't have to do that. I mean, that you're putting a big target on your back whenever you decide to be a leader in that regard. But again, you know, it's perspective. What she was facing, and what I think sometimes, you know, we face as trying to be women leaders and women in a male-dominated profession, trial lawyers. You know, it's nothing even remotely like that. So I'm just excited about the next time. We're going to talk about her training. We're going to talk about her performance and some of the real adversity that she and her family faced. Her brother was actually shot a couple of times trying to protect her while she pursued this path and got her education and her training. So I'm just super excited about the next show, and I hope you'll be able to join us with that.
Yes, absolutely.
For that. And we'll wrap up and find out more about Captain Rahmani. So tune in next time, and we thank you for watching this time. If you know someone who's a great comeback stronger story, let us know. Reach out to us. Follow us on Facebook and all social media, and we will see you next time.
And you know what the insurance company offered him? $5,000. Really? He's completely blind, and they offer him $5,000. Ask him to sign a release.
To a lot of people, especially when they're hurting and when they're down and when they're vulnerable, $5,000 is a life-changing amount of money. And they're not looking at the value of what has been lost. They're not looking at what it would take to make that person whole, which is our job. That's our job. Their job isn't. Their job is to save the insurance company money. And they look at this person and they go, I bet $5,000 would get your full attention. And they come in and they dangle it with a settlement release, and then once you sign it, you're done. You can't come back to us and ask us to wave a magic wand and make that go away. That can't go away.
My client didn't accept the $5,000. We took him all the way to trial. We got a $5 million verdict.